I don't want to go back.
I can't resist anymore.
She had it all, or so it seemed, behind the velvet ropes of exclusive clubs, and inside her golden wardrobe lay a young woman drowning in isolation. The world saw a billionaire's daughter, but few realized how lonely that title could feel. Every smile she gave was polished, every step rehearsed. But no one ever asked how it felt to be watched by the world and hunted by some of it. Her morning routine wasn't makeup and coffee, it was facial recognition and armored SUVs. While other girls her age took selfies at cafes, she was escorted through underground garages to avoid paparazzi and worse. It wasn't just about flashing cameras anymore. There were whispers, online threats, and that strange black car that seemed to follow her every time she left her penthouse. Her life had stopped being glamorous. It had started to feel like a trap. Her father was a man of empire, not emotions. So when the third threat in 2 months arrived, he made a decision. She would have full-time protection. She rolled her eyes, of course. Bodyguards were for celebrities and paranoid billionaires, not for her. But deep down, something unsettled her. This wasn't just a prank anymore. It was real. And that realization brought a kind of fear, even. Her diamond rings couldn't distract her from. She imagined someone big, boring, and wearing sunglasses indoors. Probably a yes man hired to follow her around and kill the vibe. She even joked to her friends that she'd make the poor guy quit. Within a week, that's what she did. Pushed people away before they could get too close. Trust was expensive in her world. And loyalty, practically extinct. Her parties got wilder, but her laughs got quieter. There's something sad about knowing everyone around you is being paid to be there. Emotional story? She was living one, hidden beneath layers of designer silk and fake smiles. At night, she'd stare at the city skyline, wondering if anyone really saw her beyond the headlines. Maybe that's why she didn't see him coming. Not yet. The night before he arrived, she barely slept. There was a chill in her chest she couldn't shake. Was it anxiety? Was it instinct? She wasn't sure. All she knew was that this story, her story, was about to shift. And she had no idea that what waited behind her front door wasn't just protection. It was something else entirely. And when she finally opened that door, everything changed. He stood there like a statue carved from stone, broad shoulders, unreadable eyes, and not even a polite smile. No designer suit, no fake charm, just calm control. She instantly disliked him. To her, he was boring. To him, she was noise. Their energy clashed like oil and water, but somewhere beneath the friction, something electric sparked. Subtle, silent, but there. He called her ma'am. She called him robot. He didn't flinch when she threw tantrums. He didn't comment when she flaunted her jewelry like a second skin. He followed protocol, while she broke every rule just to see if he'd react. But the more she pushed, the less he moved. And somehow, that drove her wild, and not in the way she expected. Most people were quick to flatter her, to get on her good side. He didn't even seem to notice she existed beyond his job. That, oddly enough, intrigued her. She found herself testing him with parties, paparazzi traps, wild plans. But nothing cracked his calm. Not even when she tried to embarrass him. He stood tall, solid, unshaken, like he'd seen worse. Maybe he had. She started watching him from the corner of her eye, how he scanned every room, every crowd, like a soldier on alert. How he never sat with his back to the door. He wasn't just a bodyguard, he was something else, trained, precise, and carrying something heavy on his back. It wasn't muscle, it was memory. You could almost feel it when he thought no one was looking. In her world, people played games to climb social ladders, but he didn't play. And that confused her. He didn't laugh at her jokes, didn't flirt, didn't even react when she wore her most daring dress to accidentally drop her phone near him. She wasn't used to being invisible. But this wasn't indifference. This was control. The kind you don't learn in books. Their silences began to stretch longer than their conversations. Yet somehow, those silences were louder. In one elevator ride, she looked at him, really looked, and something in his expression made her heartbeat skip, a stillness that screamed of pain, a gaze that had seen too much. It wasn't just a job for him. And maybe, just maybe, she wasn't just a job for him either. She didn't know it yet, but this no-nonsense man would soon share something that would make her walls start to crumble, piece by piece. He wore the same black jacket every day, not out of habit, but out of necessity. It was his armor, just like her sarcasm was hers. She once joked that he probably had 10 identical ones lined up like soldiers in his closet. He didn't laugh. He rarely did. That jacket had seen more than she could imagine, and he carried every moment of it in silence. Her curiosity grew slowly, like fog rolling over her thoughts. It wasn't just about him ignoring her anymore. It was the mystery, the way he flinched when loud sounds cracked the air, the way he always kept his back to a wall. Something had happened to him, something that didn't go away just because he wore sunglasses and earpieces. Late one evening, after another close call with an obsessive fan, she noticed his hands trembling slightly, just for a second. He thought she didn't see, but she did. And in that moment she realized he wasn't invincible, that even those who protect others carry scars invisible to the world. The real story was written all over him. She just hadn't known how to read it. That night, for the first time, he let her in. Just a crack. A name from the past slipped from his lips, a mission gone wrong, a partner lost. His voice didn't tremble, but something in it broke. She sat beside him, quiet. No judgment, no interruptions, just presence. And when he looked at her, really looked, she didn't see a bodyguard. She saw a man surviving. She couldn't explain what changed after that, but it did. Her teasing became gentler, her tone softer. She asked about his hometown, his favorite food, the last time he felt peace. He answered in fragments, guarded but real. And for the first time, she stopped performing. No diamonds, no filters, just her. And he noticed they began to share small, human things. Breakfasts eaten in silence, glances exchanged across crowded rooms, an umbrella shared in the rain. Nothing dramatic, just life, unpolished and honest. These were the moments that cracked the ice. That turned routine into rhythm. That reminded her and him that even in emotional story arcs, the quiet chapters matter. And somewhere between silence and shared stories, something began to shift again. Not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply. It started with a talk, awkward at first, like two strangers stuck in an elevator. But little by little, their conversations found rhythm. She asked him what his favorite color was. He said gray. She rolled her eyes and called him predictable. He smirked. That smirk stayed with her for hours, like a secret only she had seen. One night, a power outage turned their villa into a quiet cave of flickering candles and forgotten distractions. No phones, no noise, just them, two people breathing in the same space without roles to play. She shared a story about her childhood, a memory not dressed in gold. He listened, really listened. And when he spoke, it wasn't about tactics or threats. It was about dreams. They laughed, not forced, not polite, real, belly-deep laughter. The kind that leaves your face sore and your heart light. She never realized how heavy her life was until it didn't feel that way anymore. It was the first time in years she felt like a person, not a persona. And he started to see her, not the heiress, not the headline, just her. She began looking forward to their drives, to the way he handed her coffee without asking, to the playlists he played softly through the car speakers. Love songs, old rock, the occasional jazz. He didn't say much, but every gesture was a sentence, and she found herself listening closer, reading between the silences, sensing something tender. One afternoon, as they waited for her car outside a gallery, their hands brushed, just a second, just skin, but she felt a jolt like lightning had touched her bones. He pulled back immediately, but his eyes met hers, and neither of them looked away. It was nothing, but it was everything, a micro moment that rewrote the atmosphere between them. In her world, relationships came with contracts and consequences, but this was unspoken. There was no emotional story being told in public, only a private, touching stories, kind of truth blooming in quiet corners. And she wasn't sure what to do with it. It both thrilled and terrified her, because falling for someone who's sworn to protect you, that's messy. And yet, the messiest things are often the most real, and the most dangerous feelings, the ones you pretend not to notice, until it's too late. The sun was high when it happened. Broad daylight, a crowded street, and a moment she'd replay in her head forever. 1 second she was laughing on the phone, the next, chaos. A man lunged toward her with something in his hand. Not a gift, not a camera, but cold intent. She froze, but he didn't. Her bodyguard moved faster than instinct. Shield first, then gun, then pain. She heard the shot before she saw the blood. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Not because of the danger, but because of him. He dropped to the ground, gripping his side, eyes still scanning for threats. Even in agony, he protected her. Her world spun. No designer label could save her now. Only him, the man she'd hired, the man who just took a bullet for her. In the ambulance, she held his hand, trembling, desperate, whispering apologies for things she hadn't even said out loud. And when the nurses pulled her away, she fought them like she had never fought for anything before. At that moment, nothing else mattered. Not her wealth, not her pride, not even her fear. Only him. And the terrifying thought that she could lose him. The hospital walls were cold, but her emotions were volcanic. For the first time in years, she prayed, not for herself, for him. The man who never asked for anything, who always stood silently. Behind her, now lying motionless, pale, vulnerable, it shattered her. Real love doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in quietly, settles deep, and shows its face only when everything's on the line. She didn't leave his side. Days passed. His recovery was slow, but her feelings weren't. They raced. She watched him sleep, wondering how she missed it all along. The strength, the gentleness, the heart. She whispered to him at night, not knowing if he could hear, telling him how she needed him. Not as a guard, but as the man who had become her world. And then one night his eyes opened, tired but alert. He smiled, not the professional kind, but something softer. She burst into tears and laughter all at once. He tried to speak, but she just nodded and said, "I know," because she did. And so did he. This wasn't just a touching stories moment. This was the start of something neither of them could deny anymore. But as he healed, another battle waited. One that would ask even more of their hearts than that. Bullet ever could. The headlines eventually faded. The paparazzi chased someone new, but she wasn't the same girl anymore. Parties felt louder, emptier. Conversations with her old friends now felt rehearsed, like everyone was playing a role she no longer fit. She didn't crave the spotlight anymore. She craved him, the silence, the honesty, the heartbeat that never flinched when danger knocked. Back in her penthouse, she stared at the skyline and realized it looked different now. Not because the city had changed, but because she had. He wasn't just the man who saved her. He was the one who saw her, in ways no one ever had. She tried to return to normal, but her heart refused, because once you taste real connection, artifice becomes unbearable. She found herself visiting him more often, bringing food, sitting in silence, smiling at things she never used to. Notice the way he stirred his coffee, the way he adjusted his watch. It was ordinary, and somehow it was everything. Her world, once diamond-drenched and noisy, was now grounded in moments like this. And for the first time, she felt rich in ways money couldn't touch. One afternoon, while walking through a quiet garden behind the estate, she turned to him. No makeup, no act, just raw truth in her eyes. "I don't want to go back," she whispered. He looked at her, torn between duty and desire, between rules and feelings, between what he was hired to do and what his heart was begging for. He said nothing at first, just looked away, jaw tight. She waited. Then finally he stepped closer and said, "You don't need protection anymore." She felt her chest sink, but then he added, "You need honesty." And before she could speak, he kissed her, gentle, honest. Like everything he had held back was suddenly spilling into that one moment. It wasn't dramatic. No violins, no fairy tale fireworks, just two people who had been through hell and found something worth keeping. This was no longer a job, no longer a contract. This was a real story. Messy, beautiful, unscripted, and the kind that people don't believe in until it happens to them. And just like that, everything she thought she knew about love, protection, and connection was rewritten, not with diamonds or declarations, but with a kiss that said, "I'm here, for real." Have you ever fallen for someone who wasn't supposed to be part of your story? Someone you tried not to feel anything for, but your heart betrayed you anyway. Maybe you've been in her shoes, trapped in a world that looks perfect on the outside, but all you wanted was someone real on the inside. Do you believe love can grow from chaos, from silence, from protection that turns into passion? Or do you think this was just a rare exception in a world full of expectations and roles we're not allowed to break? We want to hear your thoughts. Would you risk everything for a love like this? Could you walk away from a life of luxury if it meant finding something genuine? Let's talk in the comments. Your opinion matters more than you think. And hey, if this emotional story touched you in any way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss more touching stories like this one. After all, sometimes the most powerful real story is the one that sneaks up on you when you're least expecting it.